Former LSU basketball star, now an entrepreneur whose courage is on display even as a teenager.
And now he's pushing to get more U.S. aid for his homeland as it defends itself against Russia. Sabrina Wilson has more in her report, Aiming for Aid.
You can break my life in three pieces. 1/3 under the Soviet Union regime, 1/3 in a democratic America, and 1/3 in democratic Ukraine.
Roman Rubchenko. If you know the name, you have plenty of company. The former LSU basketball star's story began far from Baton Rouge.
So what was life like in Soviet Ukraine?
Well, just like you would imagine, you have no consumer goods. You either have something or you don't. Basically, you have butter or you don't have butter. You have toilet paper or you don't have toilet paper.
And now, years after the breakup of the Soviet Union, Ukraine, the country where Rubchenko was born, fights to defend itself from Russia.
Me coming to the United States and trying to use my contacts in Louisiana to spread the information about Ukraine.
Before donning the LSU uniform, Rubchenko's skills were already evident in Ukraine.
So I started playing basketball when I was 12, and I progressed because I had a little bit of talent, I guess. And so I was, at first I was a member of the Ukrainian national team.
In 1991, he traveled to the U.S.
Whenever you did something good or you had some talents to show to the West, they would allow you to travel outside in order for you to spread the Soviet propaganda.
Instead, he defected.
Yes, because we did not want to live behind the Iron Curtain anymore. We were young, ambitious kids. When I say we, it was like me and a friend of mine.
Some might say that took a lot of courage.
Well, at the age of 17, I think you could use a different word, a C word. It would be crazy or careless, because I think we were not thinking long term. Looking back today, I see that there was a risky move, and it just so happened that the circumstances developed in a certain way that it was not, the risks were mitigated, because Soviet Union fell apart immediately, and my parents, our families did not experience any repercussions.
In New York,
The political asylum was the first step, because you have to get legalized in the country. So as soon as we made it, which was probably took us about 6-7 hours after defecting from walking out of the JFK airport at 6 o'clock in the morning.
his basketball skills again came into play.
And we were fortunate enough to be placed to learn English and play basketball for prep schools in Connecticut. And that took about a year. And during that summer, I was invited to play in the ABCD camp. This is a basketball camp in the summer for juniors, for the top 100 players in the United States, where the coaches come and they observe the players.
Including legendary LSU coach Dale Brown.
That year, Shaquille O'Neal decided to go early for the draft. And so LSU was stuck with a free scholarship. And I had my diploma from a Ukrainian high school. While I was still learning English in a prep school as a junior, I could still go to college then. And so they flew me in down to Baton Rouge. We went to TJ Ribs, Coach Brown sitting to the left, Gert Hammock, another player from Holland, sitting to the right. I had those baby back ribs and signed on the dot, and I became a target.
After playing for LSU from 92 to 96, he graduated. And in 2008, Rubchenko returned to Ukraine after playing professional basketball and earning graduate degrees from the University of Michigan and Harvard.
So since then, I've been living in Kyiv, Ukraine.
But 2 years ago, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
When the war started, I started spending some time in my country house because it's safer.
Eventually, he'd return to Ukraine's capital, Kyiv.
When you're in Kyiv, you hear the sirens just like in World War II. And first few times it was really, really scary. I mean, your heart starts to flutter. You don't know what to do. You run. I had to find a bomb shelter for the first time, and it's an experience I don't wish anyone to have in their lives.
Recently, Rubchenko was in Louisiana advocating for Ukraine as a volunteer. He also met with 11 members of Congress on Capitol Hill.
Sort of my way of dealing with that stress and that feeling of guilt that I'm not participating in the war effort.
He urges Congress to provide Ukraine more aid.
I like to use the metaphor of David versus Goliath. Ukraine is smaller, but we're smarter and we're more agile. and the big Russian bear is trying to invade us, and we do have the resolve, but we need the slingshot. And the United States and its help is providing us with those slingshots.
Still, he made time for New Orleans youths.
I think sports is a wonderful tool to develop kids in order for them to grow up confident and skillful leaders of the future.
Exuding confidence of his own when speaking of Ukraine.
You believe Ukraine can be victorious?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of believing or having faith. I'm convinced that Ukraine can be victorious, provided proper support.
I'm Sabrina Wilson, Fox 8, Local First.
That was a great story by Sabrina.
Incredible work there by Sabrina.
Absolutely.
Telling his story there.
And glad to see he's doing well and hopefully able to get that
Well,
U.S.
he's been
support.
so successful too. Michigan and
Yes.
Harvard after LSU too.
Yep.
Wow.